text throughout the day, throughout the night, at all hours of the night. Like, ding, 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 Nat.
This girl's a psycho. She's toxic. Sorry. You don't know which one you're getting. Is it you, bitch? Good luck.
The night splits wide open as Elise's voice tears through the noise of the crowded bar. Every head turns, phones slip into hands, and you can feel the charge in the air like the moment before a summer storm cracks. Josh stands with his jaw locked, caught somewhere between mortified and numb, frozen mid-sentence. Nat's eyes dart for the door, her hands tight around the strap of her bag, barely breathing. Glasses clink, chairs scrape, someone mutters, "Is this real?" And for a second, every side conversation, every smear of neon at the edge of the frame vanishes under the blast radius of raw feeling. It's heartbreak in real time, public, unfiltered, way past the point of damage control. This is not what they thought would happen tonight, not in this way. Not with Elise's chest heaving and her words echoing off the walls, the crowd caught between cringe and fascination. But wait, let's snap back. 3 hours earlier, not even sunset yet, when Elise still had hope it could all be fixed. The camera finds her pacing a cheap living room, phone in one hand, jaw set, scrolling, staring, mind spinning on worry and what-ifs, the anxiety almost humming from her skin. Is this just paranoia? Is there something real behind Josh's late-night smiles at his phone, at Nat's name on the lock screen, at the way people get too comfortable with old friends? Or did Elise always carry this fear of being left, lied to, forgotten, long before Josh, long before any DM ever popped up? The stakes feel taller by the second. Her heart, her trust, the version of herself she shows to strangers, all teetering on the edge of collapse. Did a dozen little bruises build up to this moment? Or did something new happen off camera? Something no Reddit thread, no sharp-eyed viewer, no family back home ever predicted? Before we trace every wrong turn and unravel the messy web, I'm Oliva. This is Reality Sport. And if you thought 90-Day Drama was predictable, buckle up. Drop your wildest guesses in the comments and smash subscribe. Because what you're about to witness flips the script on everything you thought you knew about control and chaos in reality TV relationships. Jealousy and trust have never been so expensive, so public, or so impossible to manage. There are moments that crack a person open for the whole world to see. And tonight, that's exactly what's on the menu. Keep your eyes sharp for every confession, every accidental reveal, because not a single soul online has put these pieces together yet. The fallout is coming fast, and the aftershocks will leave no one untouched. Before the crowd, before the yelling, before anybody started recording, Josh and Elise were the couple everybody wanted to root for. It started in a haze of late-night DMs, each reply fizzing with chemistry, jumping continents with a tap of the thumb. There was a thrill in being chosen out of millions. Elise screenshot his compliments, replaying every typed promise like it was a love letter with a digital signature. Josh called her one in a million. She sent heart emojis, then plain emojis. Inside every first message, there's always the shadow of what you don't reveal, and both of them knew how to keep stories tucked out of sight. Even in their first weeks, when everything should have felt easy, easy never came. The jokes were sharp, sometimes a little too sharp. Josh would tease, say Elise was paranoid if she double-checked a story or spotted a like from Nat on his latest post. Elise told herself trust means letting things slide, but every time he rolled his eyes at her questions, a little more distance slipped in. The sweet moments kept coming, him making her tea, her making playlists, little swerves into silly voices when the cameras weren't rolling. But under the surface, every baby, relax hit a pushback. Every it's nothing left a scar unseen. It started small, with Elise noticing how Josh's phone always buzzed late at night. Sometimes he'd laugh at a message and flip his phone face down on the table, acting like her curiosity belonged to someone else. Nat's name showed up here and there, at first like any other friend from before, just a piece of old life carried into the new. But receipts piled up, strange Venmo notifications, a hoodie left on Josh's bed that smelled like a different shampoo, inside jokes that didn't count her in. Elise scrolled through old messages, lips pressed tight, wondering if she'd stumbled into a rerun of someone else's drama. Her heart wanted to believe, but her mind built a case file every day. What Elise doesn't know, there's a phone call about to land that'll swing her trust like a wrecking ball. A voice from back home, a secret they'd both glossed over, about to become the kind of middle-of-the-night wake-up that changes how you see everything. Just when she thinks she's put the last piece together, the entire puzzle throws itself in the air. Stay with me, because nothing they set in motion here can be undone. Some fights sneak up on you, others throw open the door and pull up a chair. The money talk was that kind, the kind that doesn't knock before walking in. Dinner arrives and the check drops with a smack, nobody reaching for it right away. Elise offers. Josh hesitates. "You got it last time," he says, fidgeting. "I'll get the next one." Funny how next one starts to drift into a running joke, and suddenly jokes aren't funny anymore. Add up the dinners, the taxis, the coffee dates, the weekend trips, and the bill runs longer than the conversations about anything real. Elise tries not to keep tabs, but the spreadsheet in her mind won't sleep. Then comes the slip. Josh covers his phone and glances down, and she catches the smallest notification. A name that makes her stomach twist. Nat. Tiny cracks start to split across the night. Elise brings up the hoodie again. "Was that Nat's?" And Josh shrugs, says she's reaching. "We're friends, she's helping me out while I get back on my feet. Stop asking like it's something more." Laughter, but flat and tight around the edges. Elise's questions about borrowed money heat up. Josh says she's just letting me crash for a bit. I'm paying her back. Elise pushes harder, wants receipts, wants proof, wants to know everything between those lines. The sweetness that colored their texts is gone, dripping out slow, replaced by a list of who's keeping score. Later that night, Elise calls her parents, hoping for a little comfort. Instead, her mom delivers a punch to the gut. "You ever think maybe you're sabotaging yourself? Not every man is out to get you." Elise tries to protest, but the comment plants a weed in her mind, one that takes root deep and fast. She hangs up fuming, more confused than before. While Elise is pacing and picturing every worst-case scenario, Josh's phone buzzes again, Nat asking if he's okay, making him laugh in a way he hasn't with Elise for days. He deletes one of the texts before she can see, not realizing she's right outside the door, hearing the muffled sound of his private joke. He tries one more time to explain, "Look, it's not shady. Nat's just my friend. You don't have to worry." But Elise's trust is walking a tightrope, and tonight, the net is nowhere in sight. What they can't see coming is that by morning, one of them will do something that changes the whole story. Soon, wildness will spill out, and those lines about trust and loyalty about to get rewritten on the spot, right in front of an audience. None of them will walk away unchanged. Chris opens the apartment door with an easy grin and a joke about the weather, instantly loosening the tension that had been knotting up Elise's shoulders all day. He offers her tea, shuffles past Josh without the awkward glances, and genuinely listens when Elise explains how she likes her coffee. The living room starts to feel safer, warmer, free of judgment for just a few hours. With Chris, conversation isn't a minefield, and nobody's triple checking their phone. It isn't that Elise feels a spark. She just feels herself for the first time since landing. She lets out a laugh that doesn't catch in her throat. Chris makes the apartment, a place that held only memories of fights and forced apologies, feel like a new place with sunlight coming through the blinds and nowhere to hide ugly feelings. But Josh can't help noticing how quickly Elise is at ease. Maybe he's not proud of it, but envy leaks into his smile. Watching Elise talk and joke with Chris highlights everything tight and clumsy between him and her. Josh finds himself jumping in with sarcastic comments, trying to get a laugh, and misses. He over-explains himself, answers questions nobody asked, feels like a bystander in his own relationship, just waiting for someone to tag him in. For the first time, maybe, it hits him that insecurity isn't a one-sided game. In the silence that settles as Chris slips out the door, Josh fumbles for a way to make up lost ground. He proposes something he hopes will win Elise over, a day on the water, just the two of them, with sunlight, snacks, and enough open sky for problems to drift away. The day on the boat feels like a peace offering. A light breeze, blue water, the city far behind them. Josh tries his best, handing over champagne, hoping she forgets every fear she brought along. But as the boat cuts through gentle waves, Elise's questions cut harder than any current. Did he get permission to use the boat? Is this the same boat he got in trouble with? Josh tries to turn it into a story, but little details scatter, and suddenly Nat is mentioned in connection to old mistakes. What started as a day to build trust spins into another round of grilling, and the mood shifts back to gray. Josh fidgets. Says Nat's friend was interested in buying. That's why we were out. It wasn't a joyride. Elise hangs on the new version, asks again about the commission and the old debt. His answers don't line up with the ones he told her before. Each time he tries to clear things up, the water gets murkier. Elise locks him in with her eyes, making him wish he could go back to when everything was unsaid. And then, as the boat returns to dock and city life closes in again, Elise's phone lights up with a new message, an unfamiliar name in her DMs. She doesn't show it to Josh, not yet, but her face changes. Hesitation, calculation, a tiny shiver of dread that runs across her lips. She reads the preview and suddenly the world feels smaller. The stakes bigger. Josh senses it but can't read the screen. Two people sitting together but separated by the inches around a glowing phone. The boat might be pulling in, but nobody's home safe yet. Lights flicker above a sticky wooden table as Elise, dressed for something casual but armored for battle, walks into the crowded pub with Josh trailing behind. Nat is already waiting, all confidence and bright earrings and a practiced smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. For a moment, it almost looks like three old friends grabbing a drink. But the air is tight, laughs come out wrong, and everyone seems to know this isn't an ordinary group hang. Josh orders beers and leans hard into small talk, but with every passing second, the stakes gather like storm clouds. Chris texted well wishes earlier, but Elise ignored it, her focus locked on Josh and Nat. Elise scans every glance, every nod, every half-remembered inside joke. The small talk can't hold. Elise's patience scrapes thin. She drops her first grenade almost politely. So, Josh, do you ever notice how your phone buzzes off the table when Nat texts late at night? Nat's eyebrows lift. You can almost hear a pin drop. Josh goes defensive, says it's nothing, says they're friends, tried to laugh but coughs instead. Nat jumps in, voice brittle, explaining it's normal to support a friend through tough times, but Elise's suspicion is relentless. Is it, though? Whose hoodie is that? Really? The memory of her earlier words, trust is the only thing that makes this real, ring out in the space between them. Everyone remembers Josh once said on camera, "I would never lie to you." Not about anything. The truth weighs down the night until every word feels dangerously close to a breaking point. Other pub goers pick up on the drama. Eyes flick over and away. Groups go quiet when Elise raises her voice a notch louder. She recites the list: money borrowed, secrets kept, old debts. The table is littered with empty glasses and receipts of old arguments, things thought finished but dragged back out. Nat's patience runs out. She says this isn't fair. This is about jealousy, not truth. But Elise is past ready to listen. Josh sits between, dizzy from trying to keep the peace while his loyalty gets marched out in front of strangers like a dirty flag. There's a hot blush creeping up his neck, a look that admits for the first time he might not win this one. Even his old promise rings hollow under the weight of two women asking, in different ways, for proof his heart isn't somewhere else. Public questioning becomes spectacle, something between entertainment and a test of wills. Nat fires back, says she's always been there for Josh but never crossed a line. Elise presses on, relentless, unwilling to let go of the thread. No one is here for the beer anymore. Someone knocks over a chair. The night is about to split open because Josh can't stay on the fence, not after tonight, not with Elise's anger boiling over and Nat's patience bleeding out. By last call, nobody will walk away without a scar, and Josh will have to decide who he's willing to lose just to keep the story straight. The end of the night is coming fast, and no one knows whose side they'll be standing on when the music stops. No one in the bar expected to witness a meltdown this spectacular, not even the jaded regulars lining the wall with their pints barely raised. The conversation shreds itself as Elise pushes back her chair, standing so abruptly that Nat almost spills her drink. The low hum of conversation collapses, replaced by an electric silence that prickles everyone's skin. Elise's words slice through the quiet, her voice raised, raw, shaking with frustration and something dangerously close to heartbreak. She tells Josh she doesn't need the bar's opinion, but then swivels to the nearest group of women and unleashes the question anyway. Is it crazy to think your boyfriend shouldn't be living with another woman who keeps texting him at midnight? The women blink, process, and one quietly nods with a kind of solidarity. But others turn away, suddenly fascinated by their phones, hoping not to get pulled into someone else's war. Nat shrinks into her corner, mortified, fingers twisting her napkin as whispers dart around the room. Josh's patience snaps, The red flush on his cheeks is as loud as Elise's accusations, and he hisses at her to stop, begs for a little dignity, pleads for a private moment. But Elise isn't hearing him anymore. The shout in her chest is louder than anything he says. It's no longer about the three of them at the table. It's about every audience member. Everyone who's been betrayed, everyone who's doubted themselves, and everyone who wanted to be right about the wrong person. Elise raises the stakes even higher. She blurts out details meant for whispers, slamming years of private conversations, confessions, and debts onto the table for strangers to pick through. She repeats Nat paid Josh's rent, bailed him out, called him late at night, every piece of their secret friendship now stripped, raw, shared with anyone willing to listen. It's too much. Even Nat, who tried to keep her dignity intact, can't take it. She stands up so quickly her chair nearly topples, storms out past the curious, judgmental faces lining the hallway. Josh watches helplessly, caught in a storm he barely understands, then bolts after Nat, leaving his drink unfinished and Elise sitting alone, shaking, still defiant, but suddenly hollowed by the echo of her own voice. The bar's mood sways, some clap her on the shoulder, sympathize, call her brave. Others shake their heads, mutter about public scenes, and wonder if she'll regret this tomorrow. For a weird, slow-motion beat, Elise sits in her own eye of the storm, bravado peeling off, self-conscious as the adrenaline fades and her voice is the only sound left. Strangers' faces blur into the background, but humiliation clings like a second skin. Outside, Nat slams the door, furious tears streaking her face, muttering about friendships never meaning what you think. Josh catches up, apologizing, trying desperately to explain, knowing every word falls short, knowing trust has snapped so suddenly he can hear it in Nat's bitter laugh. A few tables inside, someone whose shaky hands held up their phone the moment Elise's voice went nuclear now watches as the video climbs the group chat ladder. What most of the crowd doesn't know yet is that a recording is about to resurface online, something Elise will recognize instantly and wish harder than anything could be erased. Conversations spin into speculation, sympathy flips to skepticism, alliances rearrange as quickly as news travels. The night that was supposed to clear the air is now the tinder for something much bigger, because when private chaos erupts in public, the pieces never fall where you expect. And somewhere, already, the next round of this saga is starting before anyone's left the bar. Out on the sidewalk, under flickering streetlights and the distant sound of traffic, Josh finds Nat slumped against a wall, arms crossed tight, her eyes rimmed red but clear with fury. He mumbles apologies, each one thinner than the last, his words swallowed by the city noise and the crack in Nat's voice as she asks why he let it all go that far. Nat hits him with truths he doesn't want to hear. She's hurt, not just by Elise, but by Josh's commitment to being agreeable while the actual damage kept piling up. For a handful of seconds, there is nothing between them but the shared realization that trust isn't a switch you can flick back on, especially in front of 30 strangers and half the internet. Back inside, the world feels bigger and crueler to Elise, faces blur as she tries to hold her head high, but the tremor in her hands betrays her. Texts pile in from viewers and friends. Half the internet has taken sides before she even gets her coat on. Some call her a hero for refusing to be gaslit, others paint her as unhinged for going nuclear in public. She scrolls through every fresh notification, reading between praise and mockery, then turns off her phone when it gets too much, until one particular DM lands from Chris that changes her footing in ways she never saw coming. Chris's message isn't a lecture or a laugh. The words are careful, a little sad. He admits he saw Josh struggling long before Elise ever suspected, how living with Nat never looked romantic but always looked a little desperate, a little pride swallowed every night. Suddenly, the lines blur. Maybe this crazy triangle was built less on disloyalty and more on desperation to not end up alone or broke. Chris says in his opinion, Nat stepped up for a friend, not a secret lover. He wishes Josh had told the truth with more backbone. Elise reads the message twice, anger folding into confusion. Has she been so focused on the possibility of betrayal she missed the louder screams of fear and loneliness? Josh returns. Their worlds about as far apart as they've ever been. In his mind, he runs through regret like a playlist. What if he'd told Elise everything the first night? What if he'd ended it with Nat sooner? What if he'd walked away before anyone filmed a thing? In Nat's head, the calculations are sharper. She's replaying the humiliation, already plotting boundaries, already deciding how many more parts of her story will ever be public again. For Elise, the what-ifs spin into guilt, flickers of shame, ugly relief that at least she can say she never ignored her own gut, even if it left everyone else bleeding. As the story marches across Instagram, TikTok, and a dozen group chats, the night takes on a life of its own. Josh sits outside, staring at his phone, waiting for a buzz that means someone still wants to hear his side. Nat blocks out the noise, already packing her things, thinking about fresh starts. Elise lingers by the bar, wondering what's left when everyone knows your worst moment. With Chris's text circling her thoughts, Elise knows the night isn't done. There's still an apartment, still Josh waiting for her return, and still a storm of truth ready to break any old alliances. The only certainty left is that when she opens that next door, nobody will be standing where they stood before. And someone's loyalty, for better or worse, will end up on trial one last time tonight. The cab ride home feels colder than the bar, more private but no less raw, and Elise can't stop replaying every word she shouted in front of strangers. There's barely room to breathe between the ripple of embarrassment and a heavier kind of regret, the type that settles behind the eyes and refuses to leave. Her phone vibrates with messages from the crew, each one tinged with that reality TV urgency. Can you give us a comment? Will you talk to us on camera? How are you feeling right now? The pressure to perform, even in shame, clings tighter than her jacket. A producer calls, voice honey sweet but firm with expectation. Thank you for giving us real tonight, Elise. Viewers love honesty. The word honest never felt so complicated. As the apartment door clicks open behind her, she knows Chris has already seen everything. He greets her with a look equal parts sympathy and caution and keeps his distance. Elise's hands tremble as she slumps onto the couch, half hoping, half dreading the cameras will ask her to walk the crowd through her pain in perfect sound bites. But what story is she supposed to give them now? The one where she says she was right all along? Or the one where fear dressed up as certainty burned down 3 lives just to keep control? While Elise paces the living room, Josh is in another part of town, sitting on the curb next to Nat. They lean against each other, the silence between them thick, as if talking too much will only drag out what's already broken. The trust that shaped their friendship is charred, though some tiny pieces remain. Nat wipes her eyes, her voice steadier now. At least it's all out. You can stop pretending you're fine. Josh tries to defend Elise, says maybe she wasn't wrong about everything, but Nat shakes her head, still not forgiving, her patience threadbare. They laugh a little, half relief, half sick exhaustion. In another life, maybe they could laugh about this, call it twisted love or tragic timing, but tonight the best either can manage is, are you okay? And not even close. Maybe being put through this together will leave scars in the same shape, or maybe this is the last time either will ever want to hear about the other again. Back in the apartment, Elise rehearses an apology. She whispers to the empty room, to Chris, to some ghost version of Josh, testing out words that don't land right. When Josh comes home, silent, eyes flicking away from hers, she manages, I'm sorry. She means it. Her voice smaller than the night before, but the apology risks sounding hollow so soon after so much damage. Josh nods, slow, wounded, not ready to forgive. Chris tries to bridge the gap with kindness, but doesn't insert himself, watching as 2 people who thought they'd already wrecked everything still find new ways to wound. The old texts between Elise and Josh surface, messages from months ago where Elise confessed things she'd never dare say on camera. Fears about being cheated on, paranoia that grew even when she swore she'd turned a new leaf, stories of old betrayals she never processed, and a promise she'd always choose to walk away before being the last to know. In her deepest moment, Elise admits to herself she never stopped looking for signs, even in kindness, even in love. Secrets aren't always about what you do. Sometimes they're about what you can't let go of, the lie you keep telling yourself just to stay safe. Production can't get enough of the tears, the real conflict, the fallout now playing out online for millions of strangers. But no camera can capture the loneliness that sneaks in when the noise dies down. Elise posts a message, half explanation and half defense. Comments pouring in with opinions as loud as a siren. Some viewers see her as a truth teller, others as a disaster, and the rest scroll on, looking for the next explosion. That's the thing about public heartbreak. It invites judgment, but the pain always lands where it started, alone. late at night, with scars pressed into the dark. Josh and Nat's final conversation ends without a solution, just mutual exhaustion. Trust between them might recover or might crumple. Elise tries to reach for something like closure, but the words hit a wall. The stories about secrets become achingly clear. Sometimes you guard the truth so well that even you can't find it when you need it. And as dawn creeps up on a night nobody gained anything from, you have to wonder who truly walked away with the win. Was Elise justified in protecting herself, or did she sabotage the chance she swore she wanted? Was Josh a loyal friend, or just too weak to set a boundary with anyone? Did Nat lose more in friendship than she ever risked in love? When public judgment fades, the cost of survival in this mess is counted in trust lost, apologies unaccepted, and truths that never make the cut for TV. The next day promises no clean lines, only new roles and new rules in a game where nobody controls the script, and everyone has to live with what's left behind. Nobody wants to be the first to speak, and for a full minute the room fills up with breaths held and nerves burning. Elise sits on one edge of the cheap apartment couch, hands in her lap, twisting a ring until her skin turns red. Nat claims the chair across from her, arms crossed, expression blank, but her fidgeting fingers tell a different story. Josh lands awkwardly between them, his legs shaking and his eyes fixed on the spot where spilled coffee stains the carpet, a distraction from the mess that can't be wiped clean in a day. Even Chris is there, perched near the door, a silent reminder of calmer ground and the way outside friends become unwilling witnesses when things fall apart inside. Finally, Elise starts, her voice wavering but honest, a soft confession that even the cameras go quiet for. She says what nobody else would. I was scared. Not of Nat, but of never knowing when to trust someone. I broke my own heart before anyone else could. She stares at the floor, fighting tears, shoulders shaking as she admits she weaponized doubt and dragged everyone down with her. The apology that follows isn't perfect, but it's raw. A nod to the love she tried to protect even as she burned bridges behind her. Nat's mask slips next. Instead of anger, there's exhaustion. A flicker of all the times she tried to help and ended up collateral damage. Her truth cuts through the tension. I thought I was just being a friend. But maybe I liked being somebody's hero more than I realized. Maybe it made things look worse than they were. I'm sorry for that, really, but I never wanted any of this. She doesn't expect to be forgiven, and her voice carries a stubborn pride. Josh, caught in the middle the whole time, speaks third. His confession lands heavy. He was afraid of letting anyone down and lost himself trying to make everyone happy. I stopped drawing lines because I wanted to be the good guy for everyone. I should have put boundaries between friendship and relationship, and I should have told the truth from the start. I'm really sorry for everything. He looks at Nat, then Elise, and apologizes with more resolve than he had all season. Emotional walls finally drop. Tears find their way down cheeks, some from relief, some from months of stress letting go all at once. Forgiveness hangs in the air, timid but there, as if each of them is waiting to see if someone else offers it first. But not every wound spits out a neat ending. Elise lets herself forgive. A little, but there's anger still buzzing under her skin. Nat forgives Josh, but says trust might take forever. Josh forgives them both, but can't quite forgive himself. Through it all, some viewers at home take notes, reading between lines and wondering how three smart adults got tangled by the same traps. Fear of being alone, faith in the wrong signals, and a belief that just friends is always simple. There's a lesson for anybody dating across borders or cultures. Ask for proof, but don't become a detective in your own love story. You have to set boundaries before the world sets them for you, and own your issues before your issues own the whole relationship. Josh says one thing at the end, almost a whisper, but the camera catches every word. No one wins if everyone's keeping secrets. The moment stretches, feels final. But just as the quiet settles, Chris's phone vibrates. He glances down, face changing as a new message flashes on the screen. His eyes meet Josh's, full of alarm and quiet questions, a reminder that old patterns love a comeback. From the doorway, the game resets. A single confession has landed, promising that even after all this, the next scandal is only ever a message away. Sunrise pours over the city's cracked sidewalks and high-rise windows as if nothing earth-shattering happened the night before. But inside Elise and Josh's world, nothing feels untouched. Morning is quieter, tinged not with relief, but with the thinnest layer of resolve. There are no speeches now, just slow movements, the shuffle of feet on cheap floorboards, and phones left to buzz while coffee cools in the kitchen. It's the aftermath, the hard part when everyone's cards are on the table and nobody knows if it's enough to start again or just time to walk away. Elise stands in front of the window, the city stretching out below her, nursing a mug she isn't drinking. Her reflection flickers on the glass, older than when this all began. For once, she isn't rehearsing what to say or plotting how to win the next fight. There's a heaviness on her shoulders, but also honesty, rare and sharp, that she earned with every public mistake. She's replaying the night, not the blowout at the bar, not even the standoff when everything fell apart, but the moment in the cab when she finally let herself feel everything she'd stuffed down since the first DM. For the first time in months, she doesn't want to check his phone or dig for old secrets. Today feels like the first day after surviving herself. In her mind, Elise promises that next time she'll ask for trust, but won't make it a weapon. Maybe she'll fail. Maybe she won't. But for right now, just staring out at the city, she can bear her own reflection. Josh watched the apartment door close behind Nat that final time and didn't follow. He tried to, but his legs felt rooted to the same spot where he'd kept saying yes while wishing he could say no. Now, quiet fills the place. He's not angry anymore, just empty, and maybe that's relief in disguise. He scrolls through old texts with Nat, finally able to admit that friendship's only safe if both people know its limits. Turning over Elise's mug in his hands, he isn't sure if he'll get a second chance with her or if he even wants one, but there's comfort in the clarity. Today, he can see how trying to avoid pain just spreads it around. In a messy new way, that knowledge feels like a clean slate. Nat, on her own, blocks everyone for a day and lets herself be pissed. Her boundaries, once fuzzy, are now clear as chalk on a blackboard. She doesn't text Josh good luck or DM Elise for closure. Instead, she packs for a night at a friend's place, staring down her own face in the bathroom mirror, determined not to play therapist or hero outside her own life again. Tomorrow, she figures, brings a new circle of drama for someone else, and if she's smart, she'll watch it from a safe distance. If you're watching from home thinking these people are wild, there's a mirror in every reality TV love triangle. Texting exes, chasing red flags, letting social media pick the winner. Sometimes it's pure spectacle, part Bachelor breakdown, part soap opera, part that one friend's cousin who always cries at the wedding. But every time the cameras catch Heartbreak live, it's a pop culture moment with a price nobody budgets for after the drama ends. Real people are left to clean up. The show rolls on, but the mess is what sticks. So here's the question. After watching Elise turn private anxiety into public spectacle, after seeing Josh's blurry boundaries and Nat's line in the sand, do you see a little of your own story in theirs? Have you ever protected your heart so hard you crushed someone else's? Does the risk of love feel worth it? Or are these disasters lessons best learned secondhand? And if trust is the jackpot, why does it always seem guarded by 100 tripwires? Before the credits roll, just as you think you can exhale, the camera lingers on Chris scrolling his phone. His face goes slack with disbelief, eyes darting from the screen back toward the living room where old drama barely cooled. The next episode shocks even the producers, a voice note leak, another couple's ugly feud, and claims that will flip alliances upside down. But that's for tomorrow. Tonight, the room breathes quieter, the city wakes up, and viewers everywhere ask the same question. Does anybody ever really know who to trust? Or are we all hoping next time the story ends before the cameras catch us falling apart?